Good morning, everyone. Let me tell you that
Selbon's people have been working for a long time, and they've been working so enthusiastically. This is something you cannot learn at university. Enthusiasm, there are ethics involved with enthusiasm. It's related to need to change things because we are not doing it properly. Actually, we think we have a lot of rights sometimes, but we do a lot of things wrong, I think, humans, I mean. And, we believe that some things have to be changed, in fact, and Salvan's people do believe in it, and I do congratulate them about it. I congratulate them about this organization, actually, and thanks for inviting me. Actually, I am really nervous to be here, but it's a great honor for me to be here today. Actually, I was born in the forest, as a matter of fact. I was born as forest myself, but not just intellectually, in fact. My grandfather was from the Sardinia region, actually, and male in the winter went for cold, to get some cold on the coastal areas. And once he fell in love with a girl in the Arbosias. But my mom was born in the forest in a coal hut, in fact. And actually, I cut some trees myself as well. Actually, before I was involved in this world, I knew what it was actually to cut down trees. So I did lots of things in the forest myself. Then I studied in the University of Forest, and I've been working in the Canadian, Russian forest in Vladivostok area to the Japanese Sea. I've been working in most South American and Mexican wet forests. And actually, I've been working in forests, as I said, for many years. I am a forest guy, in fact, and I've been immersed in the forest myself. I learned a lot of things of simple people when we were working in South America. We worked a great deal with popular empirical know-how, and which is great actually, because at the university, we have some weaknesses as well. So when we work with some other non-Western countries, we tend to include women know-how. Women know how about the environment. The know-how of tribes, of women in some tribes, is going to heal depending on how close they are to the environment, to their environment. So women will be able to know how to solve health problems in their territory. Actually, knowing the environment, it's not just related to theoretical know-how, you see. We are working in a project in Ecuador which is going through severe political moments right now. And there, Guarani kids at tea time, you see, at tea time, well, what they do is not going for, let's say, industrial food or junk food. Instead, they know jungle products so well that they just go up trees and select the kind of fruits that they prefer for that date. And I'm not just talking about very primitive cultures. I'm not. In this video, you can see some images from the forest. And here you can see what I see in the forest myself, its beauty, this ability to seduce, which, as Mrs. Galindo says, is incredibly strong, in fact. Well, in fact, forests are highly seducing, actually, especially when you let yourself go and relax. Then you feel that this physical part of human being just melts down gradually until you become just one with that environment yourself. And I am a bit narcissistic myself, I know, but I learned a lot of very simple people. Okay, we record simple people, but we tend to be very paternalistic with them. And I learned a lot more. I mean, I've got a lot of awards myself, but I learned a lot from very simple people, as I said, when I came back from a long expedition to Mexican forests, from the northern to the southern areas of Mexico, so across the whole of Mexico. What happened to me is that I got there with this idea of trying to help these people from NGOs, from the universities, through different projects and papers. And you know, what I realized instead was that I learned a lot more than I was able to teach myself. Instead of applying lots of indicators and lots of theoretical tools, I observed lots of things. I was helped a lot, and I knew that I was able to learn a lot more than I was able to communicate. When I came back, I published an article through the countries in which explained what I learned, and I said that I learned a lot more than I was able to teach myself, and nobody liked it, you know, especially university. I mean, we have to acknowledge that there is a popular empiric know-how. And university people don't like it a lot. Actually, I don't renounce about empirical models, but I am very open to new learnings. And I also think that even if you came here through different reasons, you come from different countries, from different disciplines, which is great, by the way, but there is something moving you all, and it's the same thing, the same emotions. We all feel that we are in a crisis situation, which has never been so strong, never before in history. I'm not going to give you at all. But, you know, when we fear other people, we disconnect. We do not connect with them. Actually, we should have the ability to understand from know-how. And within this crisis context, define it not as a civilization crisis moment. Not at all. Civilizations appear, grow. Actually, so this is not a civilization crisis because it's a cross-sectional crisis. This is a universal crisis in all through our planet. And if we are not able to get out of it, we are going to have problems. We all actually tribes from Papua New Guinea and Neocon people from Wall Street. Actually, this is a civilization crisis which is very difficult to overcome itself. I'm not going to leave you with an apocalyptic message, not at all, because when we have solutions to strong conflict situations, some new strengths just help out to get out of them. Actually, as Hegel said, there are always the two parts of it. Same thing for sustainability. When we realize that we've been thinking about sustainability nowadays. There are so many definitions of sustainability now. Actually, there are 130 different definitions of sustainability. So there is an neutral concept about it. We all can talk about sustainable capitalism. It's not so difficult, in fact, and sustainability is a greenwashing cosmetics. Everything has to be sustainable. So this is a new Babel tower as a concept itself. An anecdote now. A few years ago at the university, a city asked me to set up a strategic plan for sustainability in a municipality in La Garrocha, a region nearby here. First day, one of the deputy mayors was there, and he said, I am, his name, I am deputy mayor of environment. And he said, okay, but what is it, what you do? He said, well, environment. So, politicians actually all care about environment without knowing exactly what they are talking about. So as Friedhof Kappel said, we have to agree about concepts, no matter what concept we are talking about. We have to set up a consensus about all terms, okay? And make sure that we are all talking about the same things. So it's a matter of literacy, actually. And Margaret Dixit, probably young people don't know him. So he is one of the most important ecologists in our planet. He's a benchmarking guy in ecology. And he said, we have to decide whether human beings are part of the system or not, which is a very old concept, which goes back to Stoicism already. So human beings are just a modus hominid, or we are predators, actually. Are we within or without ecology? We are arrogant primates. We think that nature can be dominated. In fact, I think that we are only dominating the culture, the nature. And in the case of forests itself, are we within or without a forest? Are we part of it? Are we anthropocentrical or biocentrical ourselves? Is it mine? Is it yours? And we have to make great efforts as well to know the forest. We can understand forest from many different ways. We look at forest from an excessive botanical perspective. And I think that forests are much more than this. There is a part of botanics in forest, ecophysiology in forest, physics in forest as well, forestry in forest, cosmovision in forest. Forests are highly complicated. And this is not a sector monopoly, or this is not the way it should be, by the way. It's much more complex than this. It's much more dynamic than this. In fact, forests, as you know, and this is a main thing, forests are the climate expression of any ecosystem, And if biophysical strengths are applied in a given territory, if we allow it to happen, then forests become mature. So forests are an expression of maturity themselves. In Catalonia, for example, if we allow the biophysical strength to be applied, 90% of the of Catalonian territory would be covered with forests. Yes, so forests, as I said, change a lot. Experts working on forests say that actual forests are very different from former forests. Very, very different they are. So it's very important to get to know forests. Forests are the great school, actually. They can teach us a lot. You know how many trees are there in the planet? So Sylvester or wild trees. Okay, we are not going to talk about the different species. So we have 22,000 different species of trees. We have to be more literate. We come out from pine and some simple. Apart from knowing about 3 or 4 different kinds of species, the other we don't know about the other ones. So forests don't work miracles. If you know that our kids don't know about forests anymore. They don't know about fruits. Actually, we know that we can not respect a traffic light or not. We should not cross the street in a traffic light. So same thing for the forest. Some elements should be known. Actually, we know that we cannot drink everything, actually. We know that we cannot play with electricity. Same thing for the forest, actually. We have to get to know forests, that they are healing plants, lots of them, and some of the plants instead are dangerous. The Corynthum Pelus is highly dangerous if you don't take the appropriate doses of it. So it's important to know about forest much better. We have to know what is it, what we have in front of us. We know how to read poesy and know what times it is from. We can work with the basic mathematical models, don't we? We know about the different artistic styles. But when it comes to forest, we should be able to read about forest. Pere Jaume, the most notorious creative in our country at the moment, whose name is Pere Jaume, he says that forests are literature in the physical sense of this term. He says, okay, don't you know that I am this tree or that other tree? Can't you make the difference? You can identify the different artistic styles. So then we should be able to identify the different kinds of trees. We should know far more about it. It's almost at the end of my presentation. Actually, I went over my time. Forest is the big university, the big temple. It's the contrary of cities, and cities are the contrary of forests. Cities are not sustainable as a system. 24 hours using matter and energy in a very arrogant way. Actually, if we close the water, or interrupt the water system, or food people, and it just is destroyed. So cities have not sustainable ability itself. This is why people need to go out at the weekend. This is absolutely necessary just to counterbalance what our confinement during the weekly days. And actually, we don't need to go to the physiotherapist or to the doctor so that we know about it. We do realize ourselves that we have to get out of cities. Cities are not sustainable at all. But forests can regulate themselves. Forests are not connected to electrical companies, and They don't depend on the regional government or national government. Actually, forests started to live every day thanks to the everyday light. It does not need any watering system. It does not need anything because it is absolutely self-sufficient. In forests, we have the true university of life.